Hello, hello, lovely listeners.
All of you ghouls and goblins.
And everything in between. Welcome to Across the Veil with Zelda.
And Emma.
Oh, the weather outside is frightful, and so are the creatures that live in the snow.
They really are. They're terrifying.
That's the only parody that I could think of, and I did that in the moment, so that's what you get.
Welcome to our Winter Monster Month.
Yeah, we decided since it's, getting cold.
Hopefully.
We're gonna do some spooky things that belong in the cold. Mm-hmm. It's like 59 degrees in Los Angeles today, which is pretty cold for California.
Yeah, global warming though. We're doing this in case global warming wipes out these cool creatures and spirits.
Yes.
I've never had like a white Christmas. Like, it's never snowed on Christmas for me. When you're 70 degrees in Pennsylvania.
Oh my gosh.
Fucked up.
Yeah.
Fucked up shit.
I mean, coming from Equator girl,
yeah,
I've had much less of a chance to get white Christmases.
You went from Singapore to New Orleans.
And now LA.
Yeah. You're just not one for winter.
I'm a tropical flower. I'm not...
You're built different.
Built different. But yeah, so this is exciting. We're going to talk about spooky snow, ice, creatures, things, winter horrors.
Yep.
And we're going to get into the mood of the season in the creepiest way we possibly can.
Obviously. Is there any other way to do it? The answer is no. So by winter monsters, we don't mean just monsters, for the record. By monsters, we mean all things horror and cold.
Yes.
So what are we starting with, Zelda?
Well, today we are going to the snow-covered mountains of Japan.
Ooh.
And we're going to be talking about the Yuki Onna. So for all you linguists out there, Yuki translates to snow in Japanese and Onna means woman. So Yuki Onna directly translates to snow woman. So we're talking about the snow woman.
Makes sense.
Talking about categories of the characters that we're talking about, the Yuki Onna would be considered a yokai, which is a special type of spirit, monster, and other supernatural being in Japanese folklore. There's 8 different kinds of them. So the word yokai comes from the kanji, and kanji, by the way, is one of the Japanese alphabets for bewitching, attractive calamity, and specter, apparition, mysterious, suspicious. So
that's what I want to be.
That's exactly how I'd like to be described, honestly.
Literally exactly how I want to be described.
Well, speaking of how to describe Emma, the Yuki Onna is said to appear as a tall, beautiful woman with long black hair and very pale skin.
Oh, they're always coming for me. Except for the tall part.
Yeah, there's a bunch of creepy ladies who are described like this, which is really cool and, good for you guys, but, do you want to start a club? Why is that the...
Because we look scary. That's the issue. I've leaned into it, so it's on me.
It's the Spooky Bitches Club, but, a lot of cultures have creatures that look like this.
Yeah, a lot of cultures do have creatures that look like this. She's popping up everywhere. I'm popping up everywhere. You never know where you'll find me.
Emma! So, for this being, the pale skin is to her advantage in her chosen terrain, which is snow, and mostly during nighttime, so she kind of blends in with her surroundings to better stalk her unsuspecting prey. She's also sometimes described as having blue lips, which is what happens when you're very cold, and some depictions of her have white hair. It's kind of all over the place. She's a folklore legend. She's coming from everywhere. I'll give you more history later, but there's 18 different ways that she's depicted.
So she might not look like me.
Sometimes she looks like you, sometimes she doesn't. Mm-hmm. Based on kind of the era of the stories that she's coming from.
Gotcha.
Sometimes she's depicted as wearing a white kimono, that's the most traditional, and other times she's described as completely nude, probably by men. It's, ooh, scary, naked lady, ooh. Okay, why does she have to be naked?
I feel like, oh my god, she's so cold.
I think that's kind of the point.
Get that bitch a coat.
Give her a coat. So she's said to float across the snow and she leaves no footprints behind, which is actually kind of a huge common feature of Japanese ghosts, and sometimes they're even described as not having feet at all. Her eyes are said to have a Medusa-like quality, where if you make eye contact with her, you freeze, both literally and metaphorically. In a similar vein to the squonk, she can transform into a cloud of snow if she feels threatened. We're bringing it back.
Squonk time, baby.
The squonk
He's always there.
is always there. So the Yukiona is associated with winter, ice, and snow, kind of like Elsa, but more murdery.
Makes sense.
Some claim that she's the spirit of a woman who perished in the snow, and other stories say that she was born from the snow, kind of like an Aphrodite situation where it's like you're born from the thing and you become a human-esque creature. Lots of different legends. But she's basically the personification of the coldness of winter that freezes people to death. So no wonder her stories go back centuries. No heat and people be cold and they be dying in the
people be
cold. And you have to blame someone, so
yeah.
let's blame women.
Toes be falling off, let's blame a woman.
Up until the 18th century, she was mostly portrayed as ruthless and evil, but recent stories have given her a kinder personality. She is still a killing machine, though, and now is looking like a good time to talk about all the fun ways she kills people, because there are many. There are many fun ways.
Oh, yes.
It is said that she appears to lost travelers in snowstorms, and then she uses her icy breath to turn them into frost-covered corpses. Other times, she just leads people off their path and leaves them for lost in the snow to die of exposure. So she's a little trickster. She's like, ooh, come off your path and get lost and freeze to death.
Do it.
She's been known to seduce men and freeze them when they kiss her. And some people say she enjoys killing for sport, but some say she's also stealing their life force by killing mortals and then sucking it out of their bodies.
Well, I think that's fair.
As is her right.
If you're gonna fall for it, like...
Oh yeah, spooky naked woman in the woods, let me kiss her.
Let me
No!
kiss her. I think that'll work out really well for me. Clearly she'll fall in love with me.
Well, that's a spoiler alert for later, Emma. Emma, there's stories.
Oh boy.
There's stories about that actually working out for the dudes.
Aw, man.
Yep. So there's more aggressive portrayals of the Yukiona that have her blow down the doors of people's homes and then kill the inhabitants in their sleep, which is weak.
Wake him up.
Like, I feel bad for people in horror movies who don't deserve to die. And this feels like these people didn't deserve to die just because their door wasn't, like, super sturdy.
And also, the other thing is, like, she's blowing in there, probably looking incredible.
And they're all asleep. She's just killing them in her sleep.
Why put on such a show? Yeah. If I'm gonna blow through some doors with, like, wind and snow bustling around me, then I want people to see it.
Should be in the middle of a dinner party.
Hell yeah.
So, like, everyone turns, like, wow, that's drama.
Incredible. Kill us now, please.
Yes.
Because we'll never see a better show.
Best show of your life.
And the last one.
Yes. Sometimes she is depicted with a little child, and she'll ask travelers to hold the child, which inevitably causes them to freeze to death because the baby's cursed. Cursed baby.
I would never fall for that one. I would never. She'd be like, hold my baby, and I'd be like, I have to go.
No, sorry, thank you, though.
No, no thanks.
Sorry.
It's a no from me, dog. Have a nice naked winter.
Yeah, naked winter, spooky lady with baby. I will not be
Gotta dip.
associating with you.
Gotta go.
So there is no way to kill the Yukiona, but she has been known to show mercy and spare certain people. So you better hope you're one of the lucky ones if you cross her path. The most famous legend of the Yukiona shows this side of her. Legend time. There were two woodcutters, Mosaku the elder and Minokichi the younger. The men had been out in the forest cutting wood when a snowstorm suddenly caught them by surprise. Unable to make it safely back home, the two men took shelter in a small hut that was nearby. The men fell asleep, but the younger was awoken by a sudden gust of cold air. The hut's door had blown open, and he saw a woman dressed all in white standing over the sleeping Masako, freezing him with her breath. She noticed the younger man staring at her, but took pity on him and decided to spare his life because of his youth and handsomeness. She told him she would let him live on the condition that he never told anyone that he saw her, and if he did, she would know and kill him. He agreed, woke up the next morning, safe and only a little bit chilled. A year later, he married a beautiful woman named Oyuki, and they lived together for many years and even had a few children together. On a cold winter's day, he was reminded of the time he saw the Yukiona and decided to break his promise to tell his wife. To his surprise, his wife revealed herself to be the creature that he had seen, who had spared him because she fell for him. Because he broke his promise, the Yuki Onna was prepared to kill him, but spared him once again for the sake of their children. She then disappeared and left him alone with a warning that if he was not a good father, she would come back and kill him for real this time. Fortunately, Minokichi was a good dad, but he never saw his beautiful wife ever again.
Wow. Lots of ups and downs there.
Right? Like, he broke his promise, but, like, she fell in love with him.
And she loved her kids.
And she loved her kids so much that she was like, you can't be a deadbeat dad or I'll kill you.
Sad that she had to leave, though.
Jay broke his promise. It's on him, but he was a good dad, so...
Yeah, good for him for being a good single dad.
So this story is really interesting because it's actually the first written down legend of this creature, but it was written by a very interesting character.
Mm-hmm.
Lafcadio Hearn was a half-Greek, half-Irish traveling journalist who was active in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. He was well known for editorials in the United States and even lived in New Orleans for a time.
Hey, Nola.
Shout out, represent. In 1890, he moved to Japan, married the daughter of a samurai, and began teaching at the University of Tokyo. He began to write many books about Japanese culture, life, and history. One such book was the Kwaidan, Stories and Studies of Strange Things, in which he tells this legend of the Yuki Onna that he claims was told to him by a farmer in an area of what is now the western end of Tokyo. Hearn has been likened to the Grimm brothers who translated German tales, and he kind of sparked a huge interest in these old stories to both foreign and local audiences.
Cool.
So, because of his journalist tendencies, he asked a bunch of people, what are some local legends? And they told him, and the Yukiona was one of them that really took off.
Mm-hmm.
So his book of legends was so popular, it prompted a few more white people to go to Japan and interview villagers so that they too could produce stories of the Yuki Onna. This is a little problematic because we have to ask ourselves, are these real legends or are they just made up by tourists looking to capitalize on a newly popular legend?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to do any of those accounts. Ancient accounts of the Yukiona actually stretch back to the Muromachi period, which is about 1333 to 1573. There's a monk named Sogi who writes about his encounter with the woman, who he saw admiring his frozen garden. She disappeared when he called out to her, but was later told by other monks that she was the Yukiona, a spirit of the snow who appeared during heavy snowfalls and disappeared right before spring. So like many, many years before Hearn was talking about it, a monk was talking about her, so it's definitely...
It's definitely an actual legend.
An actual legend. Illustrations of the Yukiona also date way before Hearn's story. Japanese artist Sawaki Suishi created a scroll in 1737 called the Hayakaya Zukan. In English, it translates to, like, the illustrated volume of 100 demons, which is so cool. What a name.
That is so cool. Oh my gosh.
It's my high school yearbook. Illustrated volume of 100 demons. Where he drew a bunch of monsters from local legend. One is very clearly labeled the Yukiona and is depicted with all of the elements that we associate with her. The white kimono, the pale skin, black hair, snowy setting. It's very clear that people have been talking about the Yukiona years and years before she was a published legend.
For sure.
It's also interesting because the monk, the artist, and Hearn all were in roughly the same location when they depicted the creature. So she's a Tokyo-based legend. The area was called Edo in the past, but she's now popular all over Japan. Like the Pontianak, many books and films have used this character's likeness, but also spooky women apparently all look alike, so it's tough to say where individual inspiration is drawn from for certain things, or if it's just kind of a amalgamation of years of legends. I feel like I've seen an ad for Altoids where somebody pops a mitt and then blows on somebody and they freeze.
Definitely been an ad.
Is there a connection there?
Yukiona in pop culture?
Well, woo, here we go. I have some of that. For all you Pokemon fans out there, the Pokemon Frostlast is based off of this mythical lady. So even the name for the Pokemon is a clever little hint at the origins because it's made out of
Snow
frost,
Woman,
which is
Frost
cold.
Lass.
And lass. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
I put that together. My two little tiny brain cells.
the creature also looks like it's wearing a little white kimono.
Oh, cute.
So they took this monster and made her into a Pokemon.
Little Pokemon fun fact. It's just always interesting with these female creatures how it's always the looks that draw them in.
And it's always the pale skin.
Yeah. Well,
Like-
pale skin was a big beauty standard for a long time.
But I guess it's also because your skin, you don't have any blood circulating when you're dead.
That too.
So that's also why they're so pale.
Once my friend tried to make like my perfect foundation because she's like an artist, and she had like a makeup kit 'cause she was in a makeup class, and she's really good at mixing paints and can make the perfect color for anything. Like she can just color match. And so I was like, ooh, make my perfect foundation color because I'm so pale that no foundation ever matches me. And she was like, okay. And so she was doing it, like trying to match me. And she was like, that can't be right. And I was like, what? And we looked at the color she created on her little palette, and it was just gray. It was just gray, like a dead person's skin. And we were like, no.
You guys were concerned about that? As soon as you said gray, I was like, yeah, that's
It matched so perfectly.
It matched, didn't it?
It matched
Oh,
perfectly. I have corpse skin.
no. Corpse girl, and she's gonna put a spell on you.
The Yukiona is great.
No, she's great. And I kind of like how she's a little bit of a flirt, but she actually fell in love.
Yeah. Like, you don't really hear about the spirit falling in love.
Well, she had children.
Yeah. What are those kids like?
What are those kids like?
Do the kids have powers?
I don't know. Because it depends on what you think of for her origin story. Like, if she's a spirit of a woman, I don't know. But if she's, like, born from the earth, like the gods in ancient Greek had children all the time. It's just kind of something.
So they're like demigods.
Yeah. And I think that's more in line with other Japanese spookies and stories, is that you can have children. Because a lot of the times they like portray themselves as human, and then shapeshifters are a big category of yokai.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of interesting. Like
Percy Jackson action.
Percy Jackson action, but in Japan.
Speaking of shapeshifters, that's what I'm going to be talking about next week.
Where's your shapeshifter from?
It's an Inuit shapeshifter. I'm not going to give any more details than that. You guys will have to wait and see. So that's what's coming up next week.
This week, we have something fun for you guys. It's from our friends over at Jar of Rebuke podcast. They're an audio drama that talks about a lot of really spooky things. So if you like us, you'll definitely like them. They've sent us a little promo, so keep listening to hear more about their show.
Have you ever wondered what wanders the fields at night? Or have you seen lights out in the woods that you know are not lightning bugs, or deer with just a few too many eyes? Well, all of these things are commonplace within the farm town of Witchton. Jar of Rebuke is a Midwestern Gothic horror comedy audio drama run by a queer-heavy cast and crew. Delve into the cornfields, explore the woods by the river, and make sure you bring your favorite dish to the local potluck, because Witchton is full of many fine folks for you to meet, creatures for you to encounter, and many mysteries for you to solve. The creatures and hauntings within Jar of Rebuke are all based on real lore and legends from the Midwestern United States, from the black-eyed children to the knot deer to the Michigan melon heads. Follow Dr. Jared Hell's audio journal and his run-ins with these various creatures while trying to remember his forgotten past. With the voices of myself, Casper Oliver, as well as Vanessa Rosengrant, Ashley Kraft, Cecil Fox, and guests like Jason LaRock, Misha Bakshi, and Conrad Mishuk, as well as many, many more, providing their talents to flesh out the world of Witchton, the townsfolk within, and even the supernatural creatures themselves. Compared by listeners to things like Welcome to Night Vale, SCPs, the Magnus Archives, and Tanis. If those things, but with a Midwestern Gothic twist, seem up your alley, be sure to tune in on every 7th and 21st on Apple Podcasts or wherever else you get your podcast fix for new episodes of Jar of Rebuke.
Doesn't that sound phenomenal? I've definitely been listening, and they're really good and really spooky. You guys should give it a listen if you want to get more into podcasts.
But for now, we're done. So we'll see you guys next time across the veil.